All right, Rich Soares here with 303 Radio, and I'm here with Erich Manser and Matt Smith. Hey, good afternoon, gentlemen. How you guys doing?
Really good, Rich. Excited to be here.
Well, I am too. It's nice to spend a few minutes with you. You guys have just checked in your bike at the Ironman World Championship. It is just, honestly, it's a half a day away. How are you guys feeling?
Well, speaking for myself, I feel dynamite. I'm ready to go. I feel primed and prepped. All the training's done, all the hay's in the barn, as they say. So we're here to tear this thing up.
Oh, that's great. Now, first of all, I think our audience should know, and you may not know this. You are a blind athlete, Erich. Tell us about your blindness and your history with blindness.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a gradual path to blindness for me. And I was diagnosed at a young age. I was 5 years old when when my family learned that I would be losing my vision to a degenerative eye disease called retinitis pigmentosa. And so from that point on, it's just been a gradual kind of loss of eyesight. And so, what I have left today in terms of vision is very much like looking through a drinking straw, a very small circle. But I could actually drive a car until about 18 or 19 years ago. So it's just been very gradual, and I have always said it kind of makes you very adaptable because you get used to seeing a certain way, and all of a sudden it changes on you.
Yeah. How common or rare is that?
It's a very rare condition, and I think it's 1 in 100,000 people in the U.S. have RP.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Now, were you always an athlete? What was athletics like? What was athletics like as a kid, right?
Yeah, it was interesting because as a younger person, I didn't even identify as someone with a disability because I had enough useful vision. Like, with RP, the two main characteristics of retinitis pigmentosa are that it's diminished peripheral field, so your side vision kind of closes in, and night blindness. So when I was first diagnosed, I had a very normal field of vision. It was really the night blindness that was the challenge. So when I was younger, going to school dances or going to movies with friends, that was where it was really challenging. But over time, the peripheral just kind of closed in. And so again, as I mentioned, it's like now I'm looking through a drinking straw's worth of circle vision. So as a younger person, I was athletic. I tried to play all the sports. I was a swimmer actually all the way through college. But in high school, I tried to branch out and do some of the more popular sports like baseball and basketball. And eventually, my vision closed in enough so that it became too challenging to do that. So I always had swimming to go back to. So that was a nice thing and certainly something that served me well in triathlon.
Yeah, sure. And where do you live today?
Just outside Boston, about 40 minutes west of Boston in Littleton, Mass.
Okay, all right. Well, let's bring Matt into the conversation. Matt, you're a resident of Colorado, Denver specifically. How did you two meet?
Erich and I met, 7 years ago. It was the Denver Triathlon, which is no longer around. I think it had a 2-year heyday. And a guy named Matt Miller, who is the base salt guy now, had founded an organization called See Different. So he called good old Rocky Mountain Tri Club and said, I need 10 guides because I'm bringing in some visually impaired athletes. I want to make this race special for them. And they said one guy happens to be an ex-collegiate swimmer. And if you're familiar with Rocky Mountain Tri Club, Katie Blakemore, who's a local pro triathlete, we need a same-sex guide. She was probably the only one who could actually keep up with Erich. So I got to draft him through, I was next choice and got to draft him through Sloan's Lake. And now we've raced four races together. We've done the Denver Tri and then a race up in New York and 2 Ironman. This will be our second Ironman race together.
So did you guys get a chance to train together this season in preparation for this? Or how does it work? I mean, how much time have you spent together in the last 12 months?
In the last 12 months.
The last 2 days.
The last 2 days. Yeah.
Since Ironman Maryland, 2 days. Yeah.
Really? Okay. Interesting.
It's just like riding a bike. Literally.
Absolutely, it is.
You show up and jump on the tandem, and we were a little wobbly at first. We might have fallen over, and then life was great.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, because of the humbly because of my swim, it's sometimes challenging to find, because the rules for visually impaired require you to have the same guide swim, bike, and run. Sometimes it's challenging to find someone that, you know, can help me push my pace on all three. So when I find someone like Matt, it's wonderful, and, you know, regardless of where they're located, it's good to be able to rely on, you know, the support when, you know, traveling to races and meeting up and doing the, you know, what you got to do, and we always fall right back into our rhythm, you know, so it works out well.
Yeah. So talk about some of the kind of special things that you have to do in each of the disciplines to make it work.
Sure. Well, on the swim, you know, because I have a small amount of vision, you know, again, like looking through a drinking straw, like we attach at the waist with like a bungee cord tether. So we've probably got about 4 feet of tether between us, and then it's tied around each of our waists. And so we swim, you know, side by side. And because I breathe to my right, when I am breathing, I can kind of make out where his head is. And he does all the sighting. Like, he's spotting all the buoys and the other athletes. So, you know, because I have that amount of vision, I'm able to reference where he is and then also feel the tug on the tether. The bike is on a tandem bike, so I'm, you know, the stoker, as they call me, the guy in the back of the tandem bike. And then similarly on the run, we also use a tether, like a bungee cord that, you know, we each hold one end of it, and Matt calls out any, you know, low-hanging branches or cones or whatever.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Do you guys have pretty good feel for what your times will be in each of the disciplines, or you have a target?
Yeah, I mean,
that you want to say out loud?
Since Eric's since he's kind of humble. I mean, he in Maryland last year, he had an aggressive goal, which was he had set, in your first Ironman in Florida, Eric had set the visually impaired world record at the Ironman distance.
Wow! In
about 11 hours at that point. And in the year after that, of course, when you establish a record, someone's going to go out and break it. So an Australian and a Brit both broke the record. Yeah. So in Maryland, our goal was to beat the record, take it back, which Eric did.
I don't think we said that out loud at the time either, though.
Yeah, we didn't say that. So the goal, but I think Hawaii, like speaking for you, like Hawaii, the goal is always, this is a different monster. Like Kona is, you know, slower than any other Ironman course out there, almost, other than maybe Lanzarote. So we know we might not go faster, but if we could hit about the same time, it's in the cards, at least, I would say.
Comfortably, I can say that, you know, with confidence, I feel like I'm fitter, I'm better trained than I have been for either Ironman before. So I'm feeling confident in that way, but also, as Matt said, it's a different monster here.
So what inspires you to do this?
Well, it's interesting because over time, again, you know, I swam through college, and again, even when I got out of college and was done with my swimming, I still wasn't at a point where I had lost enough vision to consider myself disabled. And so once I stopped swimming, I started to gain all kinds of weight. I got up to, if you can believe it, like 280 pounds.
Okay.
And, you know, at that time, I needed to do something because I was struggling to tie my shoe, and I was like, I have to, you know, I knew the difference. So I knew I had to get back to a fit lifestyle. So, you know, when I started back, it was just more practical to go out the door and go for a run rather than trying to get to a pool. So, you know, as I started to do that, I started to notice that my vision had changed considerably since college. So it was not as easy as just going out and running by myself. So then I eventually tied up with other people and, you know, found the community of runners and really kind of tapped into that. And all of a sudden, every day at lunch, I was with this enthusiastic, energetic group of people going out on our lunchtime run. And from there, it evolved into marathon training. And you know, as it's expanded, like, I've met more blind and visually impaired athletes. And so someone who used to be very shy and reserved, like, has really kind of come into this realization that what I'm doing has an impact on others. And so, like, it really has kind of, you know, made this individual sport into really like a community engagement. So,
wow, you've kind of like stolen my next question, which is, how do you view your role in inspiring others? And it almost sounds like what you just said was, what inspires you is inspiring others.
Absolutely. No, it's circular. And, you know, I work at a global tech company at IBM, and, like, you know, I remember one time I got an email at like 2:30 in the morning local time, and it was in broken English from someone in China, a coworker in China that had heard my story and said, you know, as I could make out, like, you've inspired me to get off the couch. And I was like, this is happening. Like, this is way beyond just me doing something, you know. So, yeah.
It's awesome. So Matt, same question to you. I mean, you'd be out here doing this by yourself. You do this with Eric. What inspires you to do this and partner with Eric?
I think it's I actually had to ask myself a couple years ago, like what my why was in the sport of triathlon. I think I talked to you about that before, Rich, but it's really, I know my bigger purpose in life is to serve more than, like I've always said, like give more than I take. And a few years ago realized, like for me, I've been blessed with a body that performs really well at endurance sports since I was little. I swam the 1,500 meters when I was little, so this is kind of in my blood. And when Erich called for Ironman Maryland last year, it was like, that's it. Like that's what I can do to serve someone else and serve a bigger purpose than just going out and beating a PR in an Ironman. Like, not to say that, I don't want to discount anyone whose goal that is, but I just felt like that was selfish and I needed to do something bigger than me.
Awesome. I consider guiding one of the most selfless things someone can do, and so I'm always incredibly appreciative of his willingness to do this. I mean, it's all the same effort, it's all the same work, especially at this race. I mean, this is the apex example of it. Like, you put in all the same, and they expect and want really none of the recognition for it, and I'm always blown away by that because they're doing all the same work that I'm doing, so it's really something to be appreciated.
I'm humbled by both of you guys. Who and what organizations are supporting you guys?
I'm getting wonderful support from a number of, I'm wearing Lake Challenged Athletes Foundation. I'm here as part of Team CAF. Mm-hmm. Also, U.S. Association of Blind Athletes is a national organization that supports blind and visually impaired athletics. I get a ton of support from them. My family, my wife and our 2 daughters are here. We're enjoying a week and a half of a vacation as part of, like, we're seizing the once in a lifetime of this, and to do that, I got, wonderful financial backing from a company called IRA, which is a smart glasses technology that pairs with a smartphone app that I actually ran the Boston Marathon with a woman who was in Ohio describing what was in front of me running in the Boston Marathon, and AT&T Business. So they kind of, helped with the sponsorship. And I mean, so I'm constantly, and Team with a Vision out of Boston is the team I run Boston with every year. They make athletics more accessible to everyone, and anything is possible. So.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
Is that it? Anybody else? We leave anybody out?
Seago.
I can't. Well, no,
come on.
That's what pays my bills. That's a different story. No, I'd say, and on my end, just I mean, anyone who comes to Kona. I was talking to a guy yesterday who said he had 24 people here with him, supporting him. I know, like, getting to come to a race in Kona is kind of special, and hanging out on the beach in Hawaii is something people don't turn down. But it's always nice. My wife and my 5-week-old didn't cry a lick on the plane. Mason was awesome. So Molly and Mason came out, and Molly's parents to help so that Molly could support us tomorrow. And they can take care of Mason while she's cheering, because she's an amazing spectator.
Yep.
That's great. Well, speaking of support, obviously we are supported by Base Nutrition. We talked about Base just a little bit ago, and Blue Performance Cycles and Core Sports. And oh boy, who am I forgetting? I'm going to blow this if I forget somebody. I think I'm forgetting somebody.
Uh-oh.
That's right. We'll
You're just so inspired you can't say anything else.
That's
really what it is, right, Rich?
I'm tongue-tied.
We're there.
Guys, thank you very much. Matt, Erich.
Yeah. Thank you, Rich.
Good luck
Rich.
tomorrow. You guys are going to do great.
Well, we should say, since this is mostly, well, maybe not mostly, somewhat a Colorado audience, Erich's going to be in Denver in November. I think it's November 9th at Shift Workplaces. Rocky Mountain Tri Club is hosting him to talk about this experience, his experience working with a guide, and life lessons that you get from that. So we're excited to have him come visit.
Oh, that's great.